I think everyone here knows Nicole, but this is also for people that'll watch it later because it is recorded. But yeah, just start off a little bit, just a little bit about yourself, when you got in the real estate world, and then we'll jump into a lot of the investing side after that.
Hillary doesn't know me. My name is Nicole. I have been in real estate. I've probably been doing real estate about 6 years. I got my license in, I think 2017.
Okay.
I can't even remember. But I've been doing it. I actually started off in San Antonio and I ended up moving to Killeen. And that's kind of really where my real estate career took off. My husband, he was contracting overseas in Iraq, and he used to send me all these clients, all these leads, and they had money over there, so it was all they wanted was investment property. And back 4 or 5 years ago, the market was a little bit different. You could get a little bit more bang for your buck.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I had started off there. And prior to coming to White Line Realty, and when I was in Killeen, I was with Coldwell Banker. And that also kind of really, I would say, helped launch my career in real estate. So I do a lot with both buyers and sellers. And then me and my husband, of course, we invest ourselves in some things. We have a carpet cleaning company out in Killeen. And so we moved from Killeen to Seguin in last year, actually, in March.
Say that really fast.
Almost a year. You said what?
Say that really fast. We moved from Killeen to Seguin.
Killeen to Seguin.
What's funny is, I was born and raised in Seguin, and we used to actually call it Clean Seguin. It was obviously not.
Dude, it was a whole marketing campaign. Like, it was a thing.
Clean Seguin. Anyways, sorry.
It's all good.
Husband's in mortgage, right?
You said what? He is. He started doing more. He got his lender license like he's new in it December last year. I also have my lender license, but I don't. I signed up with this company. I do work for a company or whatever, but I don't really dabble in that so much, just because you make more in real estate on the transaction side.
Yeah, and you got to be careful with it too.
Yeah, and I don't do. It's not illegal to do both, but I don't do both. Right, I just don't. And now that he has it, I could just refer my clients to him.
There you go.
So it really doesn't, it's there, but it's not needed or whatever. So yeah, that's kind of like the gist of my.
So you're in Seguin now?
In Seguin now, yes.
Where are you over where like Brendan's at? Are y'all all in the same?
Yeah. We live in, what's this neighborhood called? Village of Mill Creek.
Yeah, off 46.
Yeah, off 46.
Yeah, that's a nice subdivision.
Yeah, and like they're like still building on our street, and it's just like
the prices over there like went from normal to crazy like overnight. Like it's insane what those houses go for. Hopefully you bought before it went crazy.
We got in at a good time. Our interest rate is 2.75.
Oh my gosh. I remember like they were selling houses for like 275, and I was like, dang, that's a lot of money for Seguin. And then it was like 350, and it was 400, and I was like, good God. Like,
yeah. So we actually were gonna buy our same floor plan in the old neighborhood. It was our same floor plan. Of course, it didn't have all the updates and stuff, and it was like half the cost. But this was like at the beginning when the market was kind of shifting, and so we weren't really. And when I was in Killeen, I did come down here and do real estate, but I wasn't as much into it as the Killeen, so I didn't really know how the market was here yet. Like, are they multiple offers? Are they paying closing costs? All of that. So we lost to that, and then my husband had found he was like, I like this floor plan. So he was like Googling and YouTubing the floor plan, and he found it here in the neighborhood. So we just went new construction with it. And boom, we're here.
So is your husband military? Is that why he was overseas?
He's retired military.
Nice.
So he got out of the military in 2015, and then he went into contracting. And so he would be gone for like 3 months and then come back for 30 days, gone for 3 months, come back 30 days.
He's one of those guys that like goes in at night and then the people just disappear, like that kind of contracting, like some.
I can't tell all the
some foreign supremacy or whatever those movies.
By the neighborhood I live in, they gonna come get me.
All right. Well, Flip Flop Fridays are all about investing. So tell us about, your investing, how you got into it, and let's start off there. So when did you start investing? How'd you get into it? What was your first deal? And then we can kind of tear it apart from there.
My first personal deal?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone remembers their first.
Well, I did.
Whether it's good or bad.
The very first house that I bought was actually here in San Antonio. Okay. It was actually before I was a real estate agent, and at the time, of course, we weren't married, but we were like, okay, we'll get this house. It's a little house. It's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath house. It's on the northwest side of town by Lackland, and it's actually an Airbnb right now. And so that was the first house we got, and we ended up moving from there. We had moved to Killeen. I take that back. That's the first house we got together, but he had a house prior to that. And so he rents the house out there, which is also in San Antonio. We rent it out. It's on Petrenko. But we moved to Killeen, and so we ended up just renting out this house here. And when I tell you, we were new to the game, so it was just horrible experience. Like, I had to evict 2 tenants. And that was like my first time going through that. And we manage all of our properties that are in Texas. And so we're the ones doing all of that work and whatnot. So, and then not being here in San Antonio, trying to manage this property, coming back, having to go to court and all of that. But we finally got somebody in there, and we had, initially it was just, we got a system in place now, but it was rough in the beginning to get there. Yeah. And so then in Killeen, we ended up buying a house there, which we lived. It was our primary residence. And we would go to like the tax auctions, and we would buy, I could get like residential lots for $2,500. So I was buying them at the tax auction. And then, I kick myself in the ass for this all the time because I would flip them. Yeah. But now, I'm like, why would I do that, Yeah. And so it was cool, I get mad because there's this one lot I bought and we drive past it all the time. And the guy who bought it from me, he actually built duplexes on it. And I'm like, but whatever, live and you learn.
Live and learn.
And we're learning, and I'm still learning, I don't know everything. And it's crazy because, everything changes all the time. So you just got to adjust. And so we did some lot flipping there, and then we kind of eventually it got like the tax auction got to be well known, and if you don't have that money, people were just bidding crazy high. I was like, this is not for us anymore. Yeah. And then we did end up buying a house. It was a VA foreclosure in Killeen. This was like our first flip or whatever that we had did, and we bought it for $54,000. This is back in like 2018. Yeah. And Killeen was so cheap. Like, it was cheap. That's why we moved there. We're like, we can get in while it's good. It's a military base, so you're gonna have that rotating people in and out all the time. So we bought it, we flipped it.
I'm gonna stop you there. That's actually a good angle. I've never even thought about that. But you think about the military town, and there is that constant, hey, I'm getting shipped, I gotta sell, hey, I'm moving there, I need to buy, or even rentals, like, hey,
it's a big deal up there. Those soldiers are in and out all the time. I would say about 85% of my clientele in Killeen was military, and if they weren't military, they were investors trying to buy these houses to rent out to the soldiers.
That's
and so
I'm gonna have to add Killeen. Hang on. Let me add Killeen to my list.
Add Killeen. Now I will say it has gotten a little bit pricier. It's not what it used to be. There was a point last year when it got really high, but the prices are starting to kind of come back down to reality. I guess that's pretty much everywhere in a way.
Yeah, everywhere.
Yeah. But so we did that. We were able to rent that house out or whatever. In this first deal, we actually went in with a partner. He's still a good friend of ours, but you have to be careful who you do these deals with, because not everybody will be willing to do these risks. And so he kind of got cold feet, and he basically wanted to get out of it. And so we ended up selling the house, and we sold it for $115,000. So you made a good profit. I think we had it maybe 2 years and we sold it,
Yeah.
which is great. I mean, now if you go up there, that house is probably worth closer to 200,000 now.
Wow.
Like that, it's crazy. It's crazy. Um, so, and it was pretty like a smooth process or whatever. We were looking around trying to find deals, and we passed up so much good shit. Like we're like, oh, it's too much wrong with that. Like, and you know, we're new to this, so we're like, no, we don't want. Oh, it's a cracked tile. Oh my gosh, no, we gotta
Yeah.
replace. You know, we were looking for like move-in ready stuff, not knowing that it doesn't take much to, you know, properties. And so we got rid of that, and we actually ended up venturing out to Detroit, Michigan.
Really? Like you were flipping stuff from here in Detroit?
Well, we ended up working with a realtor up there, and which we still do. And so Detroit is a hidden gem. I hate telling people this because they're gonna take over our territory. But back then, you could buy houses for like $30,000-$40,000.
You think of Detroit, you think of like the news where people are dying every day, and it's like it used to be a big automotive city, and they all left, and it's just like this rundown, place. But
it's not anymore.
Okay.
And so we bought these. We have probably bought like 5 houses up there. We still have, I think, through 4 up there. And anyway, so we bought them for like 60, 30, back then, like this, when I say back then, I'm talking about like 2018, 2019. But you can still get them for like 70, 80,000. And so in Detroit, we have our money up there in some property, and we have those in Section 8. Because if we, and then they do like minimum loan amounts over there. If you don't have the cash, like they go as low as like 15,000 on loans.
Really?
If you're with a certain bank. Yeah, there's a certain lender.
So they're really trying to get those houses moved and fixed and brought back up to try to revitalize that area. Because I mean, it used to be a booming. I've watched some movies where Detroit was like this booming place, and then when all the automotive stuff moved out, it just went and just collapsed. You know?
It did, but they're bringing it back. And when you think about Detroit, you're talking about all the negative stuff, that's what you see in the news and stuff.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Detroit shares a border with Canada. They got water up there, the river or whatever. You have all the major sports teams, the Pistons, the Lions. They have their own hockey team. Their downtown is growing. They legalized marijuana. They have casinos there. So it's definitely growing. Yeah. And we bought these houses. Actually, I've never seen any of our rental property up there. We've been up there, but I've never seen any of our rental property. And so we have them in Section 8 because like on one of the houses, I'm looking at my board here, sorry. So like we have a house that we pay it's $628 a month. The mortgage is $628, but we just got Section 8, the rental increased to $1,400.
Wow.
And there's a wait list.
All right, so hang on. So I need to go to buy in Killeen. Let me make this list here. Buy in Killeen and then go to Detroit. But I'm not a Lions fan, so I'm gonna have to. Can I wear my Cowboys gear up there?
They ain't gonna know the difference. The Lions ain't doing nothing.
All right, so Killeen and Detroit. So I gotta get some mailers going over there. All right, where else am I buying? Keep going, Nicole. This is good stuff. I'm learning a lot.
That's where we're at right now. There are some other cities.
You're going to submit an offer next week and it's like, oh, you got outbid by some guy out of Seguin, Texas.
Who is it? No. But yeah, so it's really good up there. They do things different. I will say that their real estate is a little bit different up there, and you kind of got to stay on top of people. And there, when it comes to like repairs and stuff, it's a little bit more expensive. Like it's a little different up there, but it's worth it. Because once you've got those people in place, then it's, essentially, first of all, there's a wait list on Section 8 up there. They have like 6,000 candidates up there.
Oh my gosh.
And somebody asked who vets out of the state. So no, we have a realtor that we work with up there. We talk to him on a regular, and he does, he finds all the tenants and everything, and kind of gives us lets us know what we need to do. What was I gonna say?
Hey, Bernice had a question. Says, who vets the houses out of state for you? I assume you don't travel to Michigan every time you're buying.
No, we never have actually to buy. We went up there to visit, but not look at the property or whatever.
This is Eric.
Realtor, he goes out there and he'll make videos for us and all of that. We'll look at pictures and things like that. And we have a contractor that will go in there and tell us like, hey, this is what needs to be repaired. This is what it's going to cost. And as long as the numbers make sense to us, then boom, we rolling with it. And I mean, you can close usually. We do conventional loan there. So if you're getting a $60 to $70,000 property, you're only putting, 15,000-20,000 down, if that, give or take. And then that's what I was saying, the Section 8 up there is the same across the board. Like you're gonna a 4-bedroom is whatever 1,400, whereas in like San Antonio, different zip codes, it's all over.
Yeah.
There. And because you can get those properties so cheap, the numbers kind of make sense for us there. And with Section 8, you can ask for an increase every year.
So so you're sitting there and you went from Killeen to Seguin, now you're in clean Seguin, you're chilling. And how did you wake up one day and was like, you know what, we're going to go buy in Detroit, Michigan?
It's all him. It's Dimitri is the head of that.
Okay, so he was just sitting there like, I really like the Lions and the Pistons, and we need a tax write-off whenever we go to the games.
Yeah. So he actually bought a house over there back when he was contracting too.
When he was contracting?
When he was contracting. We bought it for like $9,000 with a tenant in it already.
Oh my gosh.
And then we end up selling it. I think we had it for a year and we sold it for like 18.
That's crazy.
I wish we never sold it, but it is what it is, right?
Yeah. Well, there's everyone that's an investor wishes they never sold anything, but
right?
We'd all be broke if we held on to absolutely everything.
I know.
Stair step,
Yeah. And so we still dabble out there. We have a few property in Killeen as well that we rent out there. One of them that we obtained, actually, it was from an estate. The previous owner had passed away, and we used the DSCR loan. I remember somebody in the group asking about that.
Yeah, explain that. What is that?
It's a debt to service income ratio loan.
It's based off the income of the property.
Correct. So it's based off the income of the property. The property has to be an investment property. It can't be a primary residence, or you can't intend to live in it. So it's based off of that. Of course, they look at your taxes and stuff, but they don't necessarily qualify you based on the income that you have.
It's an asset-based loan, essentially.
Yeah, so you do have to show the reserves in your account or whatever to obtain the property. But it's beneficial in that way, I guess, because when it comes to investing, you can only get so many loans, a certain way.
Especially rental properties,
Right.
You can only do so many. But traditionally, I mean, you can do a lot of commercial type lending, lines of credit, but then they really want to tear you apart. They want to see financials and all that stuff. And then, like Hillary said, private money obviously is where you would go after that.
Yeah, and the only thing with private money is being able to find your way out of it, having an escape plan, because a lot of times their interest rates are super high and they're only going to hold it for so long. So you just have to make sure you have an exit plan when it comes to that. I was going to say something else. Oh, on that house I was telling you about that we got DSCR. So we end up buying it for $120, and it was the original owner. This house was original owner. So everything in there, I mean, it had wood panel walls. Like it was an old house. It was like wood all through in the kitchen. So we ended up redoing the kitchen. We redid all the floor in there. So we took out everything and we put tile. Of course, we repainted it on the inside. The outside was pretty good. Had new roof, AC, and all of that. And so after we did all of that, we ended up doing a cash out refi. And it had appraised at 180, I believe. And so we were able to take the cash out, and then we ended up buying more property in Detroit. And so.
Yeah, that's the other thing. I've done that. I'm replying to Hillary. Hillary said she gets 6 to 7% private money with a 5-year balloon. That's fantastic. That gives you, a handful of years.
I'm not giving you their info.
Oh, come on, man. Share.
No,
Uh,
like, but we've also been prepping everybody from the very beginning back in like 2014 that once we prove concept, we're bringing that interest rate down. So like all of our lenders are on board with like the long-term balloon but Nicole, you're right. You have to have like an exit strategy. So usually we like refinance those loans out with other private money lenders because if the deal works great for one private money lender originally, it's going to work for another one. So we kind of just like have those moving pieces all the time. But most of our lenders love the cash flow, so they're cool with just the continuous mailbox money each month.
yeah, you got to find, you can't go to like, Longhorn Investments. Like they're all just quick money. You got to find the guys that give Longhorn Investments their money. You got to find the mom and pops that have an IRA or 401k. So when I sold real estate notes for 12 years, you know, it was really eye-opening because I always thought it was the rich guys, the big wealthy guys that have the $1 million houses. They're the ones that I need to find. And honestly, most of those people are broke. Most of those people don't have a lot of money. They make a lot of money, but they don't have a lot of money. And what I found is it was the guy that worked at Southwestern Bell for 30 years and had like $1.5 million, 401k or IRA, and I would help them convert that to a self-directed, and then they were just thrilled to get 8, 9, 10% interest. So that's who you might want to start looking for, Nicole.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and I don't even know, like right now, like how the market is in the Texas area, or we could stretch our money further in another state, like
Really?
Detroit. Yeah,
Oh, like bang for buck kind of a thing?
like out there more, the investment cost is a little lower, but we still get a good profit. So we're always open and looking for our next deal. We have had we try to do some for like work with some people who've had like for sale by owners. They're not always the best experience.
Yeah.
Like kind of like get rid of their property because they want, yeah, this is a little sketch sometimes. But I mean, it's a hit and miss. You don't know until you dabble in it and see what it is. And oh no, that's not for me.
Yeah. That's interesting. I've never done anything that I can't drive there and look at. The last guy we had on, his wife is a white line agent. And he's buying in different states. He does a lot of like apartment complexes. Justin Schmidt, I believe was his name. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank, but he was on the last Flip Flop Friday we had. He was on here, and yeah, he was mainly buying out of state apartment complexes and stuff like that, flips. So it's interesting. I've been doing investing for 20 years, and I've never bought outside of a state. I've never bought in a different city. I've got to be able to drive there and look at it. It just scares me to death. I don't know. I guess if I moved, like if I moved to a different state, then I would probably buy in Seguin or San Antonio because I'm familiar with it. But like, you just, hey, I'm going to buy in Detroit, like that's crazy. It's cool.
But I guess like for us too, it's like, well, I mean, it is an investment. You know the risk with it. You could lose it all,
Sure.
You have it in you to know that you're not going to,
Yeah.
you know.
You gotta have that spirit.
You are gonna come over some things that are just you're gonna take an L in this field,
Yeah.
So it's just being able to, I think, to bounce back or to weigh that the pros and cons to see if it makes sense for you and what you're working with.
So in Detroit, let's say, your tenant moves out, like you have someone over there that'll go in there and do remodeling, clean it, and someone that'll list it for Section 8. And so obviously you have people down there that handle all that for you, collect the rent. Well, Section 8, you're just getting a check in the mail, but they typically, the tenant owes, it's not 100%.
Yeah. So in Detroit, we do have property management up there.
Okay.
So they pretty much handle everything. And then we also have the tenant's information. So if things get, like, let me just go straight to the source. If there's an issue type of thing, then we can just reach out to them directly.
How did you weather the storm during COVID whenever no one was paying on all your rental properties?
Knock on wood, thankfully, we did not have any issues with that.
Really? That's
All of
fantastic.
I think I had one that actually was in San Antonio, the Airbnb, before we made it an Airbnb. She was paying, but she just wasn't paying on time. It might have been the
Yeah.
7th, the 10th, but she would get it. She would pay the rent. It just wasn't on time. And I really was like, as long as you can pay it,
Yeah.
and she did say, I think when her lease was up, we had agreed that she was going to move out or whatever. And that was a mess because she left the house a mess.
Yeah.
Then that's actually when we had decided to try to make that an Airbnb when she moved out, because the mortgage on that house is like $800.
Oh wow. Yeah.
It worked out. It's right there by Lackland, and it's on the outside of the loop. So I'm trying to think. Oh yeah, so it's easy to maintain because it's small, and all those people that come from the military for the graduations and stuff, that's usually all we see that rented out, and it stays pretty rented out.
Interesting. Yeah, that's another good angle. It's funny how people's life experiences dictate, having talked with a lot of people on the Flip Flop Friday, it seems like life experiences are what dictate your investing. And it's pretty cool, it's like y'all have a military background, so a lot of your properties are, kind of geared around that. That's something I never thought about, I mean, it makes sense, but just
Yeah.
there's so many different angles to real estate investing that most people don't think about, and I think it's finding those angles and finding those niches that will make you successful, so you're not with the herd, you don't have the herd mentality. You're thinking outside the box, right? I'm going to go buy in Detroit. I'm going to go buy near military bases. I'm going to go, you find this one thing, and you surround yourself on it and just laser focus.
Yeah, and I think I have to give my husband a lot of credit because he's the one who's really on top of finding these properties and stuff. But I think because in a sense he had a lot of free time, when he's working, and I mean even now he has flexibility with what you call it, with, lending. Then he's 100% disabled, so he doesn't have to work.
Gotcha.
He has that flexibility, and it's a passion of his, and I'm glad that he can take it on to occupy his time and also create money for the house.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. It's interesting. So what's your long-term plan? Keep acquiring rental properties, sell and go into a bigger asset class. What is your end goal with these real estate investments?
So in regards to investments, we do want to acquire more property, and we are looking more towards Section 8 in Detroit, only because it's basically recession proof.
Yeah.
If COVID happened again, the government's still going to give those people their Section 8 vouchers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's kind of what leaned us more towards doing that. Whereas, if another COVID happened, if they, don't have to pay their rent again, we're not losing out on that.
Yeah.
So we definitely want to invest more in Detroit. I was interested in looking at apartments and stuff, but I don't know if I want to take on that responsibility. I guess it would really mean delegating people to, a property, whatever manager or whatever to do stuff like that. So that's an option too. But I also don't want to property manage. Like I said, we manage all our properties here in Texas, in San Antonio and Killeen. And so thankfully we have really good tenants and we know them, well, but it can be a headache when it comes to fixing stuff, and for us to have to be on top of that when we want to travel or go on vacation, it gets a little a headache.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I've gotten away from residential rentals and moved more into the commercial side, is because there's just so many emotions and life issues attached to residential rental properties that you don't acquire. I mean, you still have issues with commercial, but it's not it's not the same. It's I don't know. To me, it's a lot of the residential stuff was their excuses and their issues and all these things were just like I don't know. I don't even know a word to describe it, but I'm talking about they're going to be late on rent, so they call with some BS excuse of why your house sucks, you know, rather than why they can't afford rent, right? It's never their fault. It's always this, you know, it's always this poor me. And, you know, I just got tired of being taken advantage of, you know, for so many years. And I was like, screw it, I'm going straight, you know, commercial. And it's just been like, oh, you know.
I definitely see what you're saying, because those feelings do get involved. And unfortunately, we are human. And so sometimes when you got that single mother with 3 kids,
Absolutely.
well, damn, like she don't want to be on the street. Well, if I evict her, then she ain't gonna get another house. It's gonna be on her credit. Like you just start thinking of all these things.
Yep.
So you kind of get emotionally attached, and I think that's where we have to kind of separate ourselves, because we've had like for right now we do know majority of the tenants in our property. So it's like, dang, I don't want to go. I don't want to increase rent on them. They've been doing so good this year. You know what I mean? Like those
Yep.
little. And I wouldn't be opposed to jumping into commercial or doing something like that. I would just need to, for me, I don't know anything about it right now. So I would have to do research, and, you know, take some classes or whatever to learn about it so I can take that on.
Well, and it's not even commercial as the aspect. So like mine is warehouses. I do a lot of warehouses. I need to get Ryan on here because he does a lot of mini storage type stuff and a lot of storage units. I need to sweet talk him into coming on here. But I mean, you think about like if you invested in mini storages, right? For instance, or even like what I have warehouse spaces. But a mini storage is, you know, warehouses, they're running their business out of it. And so there is some emotional stuff like, hey, you know, I got screwed on this job. And, you know, there is some of that. But to me, I'm like, bro, I don't care. You either pay me or leave. Like, this ain't your house. You're not going on the street. You know, it's kind of like what you were saying with the kids. It's like, ain't my problem. You figure it out. You're a big boy. You're a business owner. But I mean, you can even take that less. Like, if you go into like the mini storage thing, I mean, there's no emotions there. Like, if you either pay me rent or you get your stuff out or I'm going to sell it. And if I kick you out, like I'm not going to lose sleep at night because it's just your stuff. Like, you know, it's not like you got too much shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I see them where they like auction off the storage unit.
Yeah. And you know, if you have all that, it gets rid of that, you know, poor me. And you know, we're all human and we all have, most of us should, you know, have some, you know, softness in their heart to where if it's, you know, single mother, kids, you're like, hey, you know, and we've all, if you had a residential rental property and you have a heart, you've bent your rules to allow someone to stay there, you know, and most of the time they don't take advantage of it, but the one time that they do take advantage of it, it really hurts, you know, and it I don't know. I got rid of it.
In residential is that you can't let them slide, because the one time you say, oh, you know, hey, I'm gonna be late on my rent. Okay, that's fine. We'll do That's where you mess up at. That's something that we've learned, because then they're gonna take that as, okay, I could do this every month, or I'll do it. I'll pay on time next month, and then after that, you know, I'm gonna be late, and it just then it starts to just be this like.
Yeah, or they take it, and that's not just residential, because commercial too. You know, my wife is the one that kind of manages our properties, and she's been really lenient. And it goes from, hey, it's due on the 1st. Oh, we'll have it on the 5th, and the next month it's the 10th, and the next month it's the 15th. And if you're not careful, they'll almost get a month ahead of you, where you know it gets pushed to the end of the month, and it's like, hey, like now you're ahead of the game. Like you basically got a free month of rent. And so we had to this month hold everyone's feet to the fire and say, hey, per the commercial contract, it's a 10% penalty, which is like $150. Yep. And I said, charge every one of them, you know, and they were not happy, but I guarantee next month they'll think twice before they try to play games, you know?
For sure. Yeah. I think that's the thing too, is like, because when they say they'll be late, okay, that's fine, just get it to me. But then not enforcing those late fees, that there's no consequence on their end as the tenant, you know, so they think it's okay. And it can get frustrating, especially if you got multiple people doing it or whatever.
Yeah, and you got a mortgage. Like my excuse is I can't call the mortgage company and be like, hey, Mr. Bank, Mrs. Bank, whatever, I can't make the payment this month because my car broke down. They don't give a shit. Like okay, great, we're gonna foreclose on you and take your house.
Yeah. And I think too, like, and when the whole COVID thing happened, like I was really glad that people were still paying their rent, because I have a friend now that he was telling me he did that forbearance stuff, and now it's biting him.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe there's a lawyer out there for you.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a, man, what a crazy time. All right, so we kind of got off topic. What are your future goals with, are you going to continue to add more single family? Like do you have a certain number in mind? Like, is it 50 single family units? Is it 20? Is it just, as we have money, we'll buy them forever kind of a thing? What's your sail off in the sunset?
So I think we have like a goal, a dollar amount, like how much money we want to receive every month.
Okay.
If I say, hey, I want to get $10,000 a month from rental, you know, so however many that takes to get us there. Like we know where we're at now, and then we know that we need however much thousand more that we need, and of course that's going to vary depending on how much we get for each rental or whatever. So right now we are looking for our next property right now. We are looking in Detroit or whatever. So that's probably our next step. We don't want to do it forever. We kind of want to set ourselves up to where it's just automatic. Every month we see it coming in, and it's not really nothing that we have to worry about, so that we can focus more on, whether it be a family or growing, if I want to grow my real estate business and he wants to grow his lending business. So that
you don't have kids?
We do have it.
I thought so. Yeah, your vision changes once you start building a family. You see things differently.
Yeah, you do. And yeah, it's definitely different because
different. Yeah. Yeah. Can't be selfish anymore. You got someone looking at you every day.
Right. And I will tell you, our daughter, she has come. She's 3. She'll be 4 this year. And she comes to, like, I've taken her on showings with me. Like, she's seen all the houses, and she knows. She's like, Mommy, that's a dirty house. Like, if she sees dirty house, it's a dirty house. And so I think she knows, like, we're in the gang, or
yeah,
sees us working, because she'll come in here on the office and be like, I'm working.
Yeah.
It's bittersweet.
That's awesome.
I don't want it to consume us to where that's all she remembers us by when she was this age. You know what I mean?
That's my problem right now is balancing, trying to balance everything. Especially if you're a driven person like I am, it's just, what's next? How do we get bigger? Where do we go? And you look up and, like, my son's almost 16, and it's like, oh crap, like this has flown by pretty fast. But it's 9:45. We have a hard stop at 10 o'clock. I want to open up for questions, if that's okay, Nicole, unless you have something else that you want to talk about real quick.
I will say this. I will say that everything that me and my husband have done, or that we've learned, we have done it on our own.
That's awesome.
And we have had, like, my mom and, why y'all getting another house? Y'all don't need another house. Like, they come from a generation where they don't understand real estate investment. And I think that if you really have to have a drive in you, or you really have to be persistent at wanting to do it to be successful in it. We haven't always had, like, the support of our parents in, regards to, keep going. Like, for us, it is leaving a legacy to our daughter. Like, if something were to happen to us, all these properties are, she could do what she wants. She could sell them if she wants to. We all want her to be financially set too as she gets older. And so for anybody that's trying to get in the real estate game, or the investment side of it, you're going to get bad deals. You're going to get good deals. You just got to make sure that the numbers work for you, despite what others may say. And I would say I would listen more to people with experience in it than those who don't have it, such as, like, our parents. Like, you don't have any rental properties, so don't tell me that.
Exactly. That brings up another point. There's been a lot of powerful points in this meeting, so thank you for joining us today. That is a big one, is that our, just a generation or two ago, it was different. It was go work for a company and then get your retirement at 65, and that was it. Like, 99% of the people, they, go get a job, work your rest, till you're 65 and then retire, and that really doesn't exist. I mean, it does, but it's not the same as it used to be. Like for our parents and our parents' parents, it's just, unfortunately, it's just not there.
It's not. And the cost of living has increased. You really can't do that anymore. That really can't be your end goal, and like I said,
Live
like,
on Social Security.
yeah, you can't. Like I said, with like that Section 8 for us, that's almost like a guaranteed income because first of all, these people don't want to lose their vouchers,
Yeah.
because they got to pay for it out of pocket and how long it is to get on the wait list. So you're right. You're right. It is a different time that we're living in, and I guess you do have to be able to adjust and accommodate to the financial needs of your household.
Yep. And the other good point you brought up was, basically, and I've told a lot of people this, is never take advice from someone that is not more successful than you, or that if they're trying to tell you something. So like if, I always find it funny, and I have the same thing with my in-laws. It's like, well, you just spending way too much money on all this stuff. And why are you doing this? And why are you doing that? And this is a bad deal and that's a bad deal. And it's like, okay, well, do you have any deals? Like, do you have any, like, I'm not ever going to tell someone to do something that I haven't done and learned from. Now, I will say, hey, I've done that before and this is what I learned. But if you have someone telling you how to invest your money, the first question should be, well, what do you invest in and how much money do you have? And see if their reaction is, oh, I'm a multimillionaire, I invest in this. Great, I want to sit down and talk with you. If they're like, oh, I don't have any money in the bank and I don't invest in anything, well, then who are you to give me advice, right? So I mean, you're spot on that. So that, like, that's very powerful. Is everyone has an opinion, but don't listen to everyone.
Right.
Even, I mean, and you should question even the guys that are successful. I mean, like if, like today, Nicole and I, there's some powerful stuff Nicole talked about, but don't take her word for it. Like, question everything and make what works for you work for you.
Right. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah. Now, if I say, hey, don't walk behind that door as a killer, and you walk behind the door, you're on your own. Like, some things you do, I guess, got to listen to a little bit. But who has some questions?
I got one on less of a philosophical. Is how do you find and vet and I guess grade your contractor's work up in Detroit? Because that's one of the during this past little pandemic run that we had or whatever, I had to fire more contractors that would just flake on me. I lost a lot of money this year doing that, and that's one of the reasons why I'm personally scared to go somewhere like Detroit.
Yeah, for sure. So funny enough, we had, I don't know what it was. I think it was like the water heater went out or something. It was a small fix. And I literally went on freaking Instagram and I like hashtag Detroit investments. And I went on this guy, I found the guy that we use, his name is Tony, and now we're like good friends. Like we use him for everything. And he was posting all his work on Instagram. And I was like, well, we can give him a shot and see what it is. And he actually, having a conversation with him on the phone and everything, it was just, I don't know if you want to say like the vibes were right, it just, he brought comfort to us or whatever. And we're like, all right, we'll give him a shot. And he just so happened, to do great work. Our property management was referring us to people as well, but they were kind of going over the head with the prices that they were saying. So this guy did it, and that's kind of who we have been using. We don't necessarily have a backup that we use on a regular if we need anything fixed. But this one just happened to fall in our lap, really. But like I said, the property management has recommended people to us from them. My husband too, he'll go on Marketplace and find people. Like, hey, can you do this? Can you do that? How much does it cost?
Yeah, but how do you check their work though? I mean, do you have somebody like one person that you trust?
So we will FaceTime, we'll get pictures, and we'll have our property management go out there to see.
Okay.
Can't hear you.
Oh, I'm saying, did he ask? I don't know if he asked another question. We just have our property management go out there and we get pictures and all of that. Another thing too, real quick, is we do have home warranty on a lot of our properties as well. So when it comes to those little fixes, we'll just call home warranty up, and majority of the time they can get it taken care of as well. Like
Interesting. Interesting. Making a note.
And the thing I like about home warranty is if they can't fix it, then they'll replace it. And I can personally vouch for that. I got a new washer, I got a new dryer, I got a new water heater thanks to home warranty.
Really? Yeah. I always wonder how they make money.
And if they don't have it, like I think one of the houses, it might have been the water heater on one of the houses that we had to get replaced. They didn't have the part in time, or it was going to be a long wait. And so they actually sent us a check for whatever, $500, so we could go out and get our own water heater and get it installed.
I always thought they were gimmicky, but I guess.
And a lot of people do. And I like to say, like, you know, it's up to you, you know. When I'm working with buyers and sellers, and you know, I will put that on the contract. Well, I used to, you know, the market, but like, you know, but being able to tell them, like, I personally used it, I know it works.
Yeah, that's smart. What? Anyone else? Questions?
I have a question. So you mentioned that you were looking into getting the residual income from Detroit, but how are the house values out there? I mean, have they been going up, or are you just focused on that residual income?
No, they actually have been going up. Like I said, when we started buying back in 17 or 18, they were cheap. I mean, you could get a house for 20, 30,000. They have increased, and they are increasing more rapidly now, I guess, because more people are becoming aware of the market there. So they're, you know, 60, 70, 80,000. But you really kind of have to go on the hunt and look, because some of them need more work than others. Detroit, we have basements there. So
is there a certain part of Detroit that you normally are or looking into?
Yes, so we have certain zip codes that we look into.
Okay.
I don't know how we pick those. It was my husband who did that. But he has, I think it's just because of like the location, what they're close by, in the side of town they're on, excuse me. We do have 2 properties actually on the same street in Detroit. I'm excited about that, but it gets confusing when we're talking about Edinboro too. So, and the cool thing up there is that, especially with the property management that we work with, is that he has a lot of investors that he also works with. And what they'll do is they'll sell like a bunch, like 5 properties for $200,000. And you see the increase in price. All of our houses that we do have here and in Detroit have increased. Here, I would love to sell them or either cash refi to take that money and do something else, but our interest rates are so good that I don't want to touch that. You know what I mean? So we struggle with that all the time. Like, well, if we get rid of this, we could have 100,000 right here, or, you know. But it's like, well, then the payment's gonna go up. So it's a struggle when it comes to that. Thankfully, we work in a field where there's no limit to our income. I know I'm going off, but
Oh, you're good.
We can either make the money faster to be able to get more property over there. But they do increase over there. I will say they have. You can look, if you go on Zillow and look at the property's history from last year to now, you'll see an increase. They probably have increased 20,000.
So Section 8 over there compared to San Antonio. Do you have Section 8 here in San Antonio or just in Detroit?
No, just in Detroit. San Antonio, we have 2 properties in San Antonio. One of them is an Airbnb, one is rented out. The reason we don't do Section 8 here is because it varies on the zip code as to what you and it's not as high here. Like the profit margin isn't as high at all compared to what you might be paying on the mortgage.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I think our next we might venture out to a different city. We're looking maybe in Cleveland.
Yeah. I think that's Justin. I think that Justin Schmidt guy that was in apartments was over in Ohio, right? Who was on that Zoom?
I don't remember that.
No, he was. Yeah, he was in Ohio because I got a friend up there. I just remember tying those together.
So he was
some
buying a lot of
small
stuff.
town.
What's that?
I said, yeah, he was in some small town in Ohio.
Yeah, he was buying apartments and stuff over there.
Yeah. It's like us in Edna.
Yeah, that there you go. That was the joke. Yeah. Little hey, but you'd be surprised, some of these little small towns, everyone sleeps on them, but if they're close to something that's bigger, like within an hour, I mean, it might be worth looking at, think outside the box. Everyone's looking at San Antonio, everyone's looking at Austin, look for the little podunk towns. What's
Yeah,
that?
especially if they're close to like big plants and stuff where, guys have to go work for 6 months or a year, things like that.
What did you say, Nicole? Like it
Oh,
didn't.
I'm sorry. I said it's like the market here to me has become oversaturated.
Absolutely.
You can't get a good off market deal. You're not gonna really get it. You're not gonna make no money with an on market deal. And I think too, with a lot of the sellers, the issue I'm having with right now is sellers, they still trying to get top dollar. So they want to price their home up here and it's worth right here. And
Yeah, it's frustrating. I'm actually buying a little house in Charlotte, which is a little podunk town outside of Jordanton, Pearsall, Pleasanton area, kind of an oil filled area. And I mean, it's a big old massive house for 80 grand, and I'm going to owner finance it. But, that's kind of where I'm, it was Seguin. Like I was like, hey, send me everything in Seguin. No one's buying over here. And then a lot of people started buying here. So I'm just going to keep, I'll keep getting pushed out and buying in other places and looking under the rocks in small little cities to find those gems. So don't get caught up in chasing the herd in these bigger cities. Like Bernice said, look, find something that's close to a big city where someone could commute, or, that's close to some sort of military base or close to some sort of, workforce. If you notice, housing usually follows the workforce, right? That's why these cities give these big companies tax breaks, is because they know that if they build a Caterpillar plant in Seguin, it's going to bring hundreds of new jobs, if not thousands, and that's going to be followed by a housing increase, which is going to be followed by more money running through all the stores, which everyone makes money on, and taxes, etc. So
Seguin used to be that place.
that's what I'm saying. Seguin was my little,
Not anymore.
my little spot. I was the only crazy person that bought over here, but now I can't even buy over here really. Seguin went crazy. Crazy. Well, that was actually really good. I'm gonna start buying in Killeen and Detroit now. Hope all y'all join me over there.
Wait a minute.
Give Nicole a run for her money. But no, thank you so much, Nicole. That was powerful. I love having these flip-flop Fridays. We always leave with some golden nuggets. I mean, I don't think I've been on one flip-flop Friday that I haven't made notes on, and I've been doing investing for 20 years. So this is powerful stuff. So thank you very much. Really appreciate you coming today. And if no one else has anything, I'm going to end it there. We're 2 minutes early, and then we'll get this. I do record them, so we'll get it uploaded. Colin will throw it on the YouTube page, and then it'll get posted to the private Facebook group. Cool.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Thank you, Nicole.
Bye.
Bye.